on 2x2 formation. Red change now, we go racing for the first time this season. 3 hours of GT action, it's go.
This is very tight as they come down. Group of cars coming in, this has all got trouble written all over it. This is T3 cars.
Drop downhill, they head towards the Aqua Minerale. Imola, of course. There's another one off through the gravel. As wide as possible as they drop downhill, put it back from the inside line. Yes,
Oh, he's in.
through he goes.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome along to Apex Online Racing, and this is the finale of Season 13's Sprint Cup Series. My name is Tim360Lunn, and we should be being joined by Rage at some point as well. He is having some internet difficulties this evening, so he may be a little bit late. So do apologise that it is not the normal type of broadcast. You're going to have to put up with me, and if you watch Tuesdays, you'll know who I am. So, getting straight into it, we are at Imola for the final round of Season 13. The championship all but safely tied up currently by our leading driver, Luke Whitehead, who has currently a 67-point lead. So, absolutely thundering away at the top of the order at the moment. Only person realistically that can catch him is Valentine Barrier. And with only 21 drivers on the grid at the moment, actually, it pretty much becomes a case that he has to get a first or a second, and Luke Whitehead has to come stone dead last. So, unlikely that we're going to see anyone dethrone Luke Whitehead this late in the season, but you never know. So, let's try and see who is our first car out on track. Looks to be car number 99, so we'll jump on with them as soon as we possibly can. And that is of DeCampo. No, it's not. It is not car number 99. It's car number 130. Good evening, Rage. Glad you could make it this evening. I've already informed everyone you're having some internet issues this evening, so all is forgiven if you do cut out from time to time. I'm going to quickly just say that for some reason your audio is not coming out on my end, so do apologise to anyone at home that was waiting to hear the lovely tones of Rage then. For whatever reason, it's decided to not play it, so let's see if we can actually get that to work. What has gone on my end? It's always my end, so they can hear the cars. It is your voice alone that is not coming through. Say something again now, quickly. Oh. Why on earth is this not working? Come on then, computer. Always the way. So apologies everyone at home. Qualifying has just begun. Hall is our leading driver out there. Still just about to finish his out lap. So yeah, just a moment. I will get our darling Rage on the screen. For whatever reason, it will not do it. Come on.
Never mind.
There we go. Now you're there. You're up and about. Yes, you are in. Apologies about that to everyone at home that was very much missed out on the intro that he gave himself. So Rage is here. So yeah, you can introduce yourself again now, Rage.
Oh, well, I was just apologising for the fact that I couldn't start the stream, but at least we've got a stream going, and it's safer, I think, that Tim leads the way today, just because of, the ways of my internet have been absolutely disastrous this past couple of days. It's being fixed, but it's being fixed tomorrow. It's not what you really want when you've got a final session just about to start. So yeah, hopefully though, next time we're here, we'll be able to. I know I've been waxing lyrical about this, but we will have good internet by the next time we go for the season. I said that last time. Never mind. Well, I'll quickly just summarise what happened last time out, because we are on a lap at the moment, watching, well, I don't know who we're watching with at the moment. That's strange. We're watching with whoever Tim's with. Anyway, last time out, we had in Snetterton, Luke Whitehead came away with the W, Porco in second place, Hubert Simonensky in third, Campo, Joshua Allen, Valentin Barrier, Conrad Siata, 567, 8 and 9, Stuart Fisher, Jordan Riley, and then Jeffrey Miguel Renault Ritchie was P10. Standings then, like we said a second ago, and I'm sure Tim's already told you, it's looking likely that Luke Whitehead's going to come away with the championship, but Valentin Barrier is still in for a shout. Over to you, Tim.
Yes, I did actually say that, well, there's actually now 22 cars in here, but basically, unless Luke Whitehead comes 20th, 21st or 22nd, and Valentine Barrier wins, he's got this one sewn up this season. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's kind of unlikely that that will happen, but we've seen stranger things at AOR. We say it every time we stream that we've seen stranger things, but that's because we definitely have. But yeah, so going into it at the moment, Hall was our first driver out the pit and our first driver to set a time. Currently with a, oh, there we go, and Siata already taken it away with a 1:40.480. Already absolutely flying there at the moment. We'll actually jump on board with Siata. Oh, and there we go, the lovely liveried Porsche flying around those bright pink colours. Currently still in Sector 1 and currently still holding on to pole position. Oh, yeah, that's a very good point. So they pointed out in the chat. Rain coming in the next couple of minutes in qualifying.
Definitely throw some definite bits up in. I mean, everyone's going to have to get a lap in now, aren't they? Like you say, Conrad Siata leading away with a 1:40.4. It will get quicker. Hall, second place. Francis Francis in third. Walshing in fourth. Any surprises then? I don't think so. The only surprise at the moment is Luke Whitehead hasn't got a lap on the board. Whereabouts is Luke? He's got a big train of cars ahead of him. He's just coming into the complex after Aqua Minerale into the chicane, losing a bit of the rear end as he blasts on down towards the final sector. I can't remember what they're called. I can't remember with the Italian one. Shall we find out what they are? I think so. But yeah, no time set by Luke Whitehead. I'm sure he's just about to make amends for that though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the last two corners are, yeah, they are the Ravassa, I believe. There's not that many names here according to online, but there is an absolutely berserk 21 turns according to the map that I've got up here, which seems absolutely crazy. Oh, there you go, Whitehead, even with that slight mistake coming out of the chicane, a 1:40.090, so he's taken pole position away. Absolutely fantastic effort from him. We're going to stick on board with him for another lap. In fact, let's actually go on his dashboard. Coming up through Sector 1, he's made it through turns 1 and 2. Big chunk of curb. The Ferrari in front not holding him up. A little bit of a mistake there on the exit of the corner. That probably lost him a tiny little bit of time. Oh, Caracas has taken away, former teammate actually, has taken away pole position. The first driver into the 1:39s with a 1:39.801. Sorry, 810. That is a big old jump through the times, isn't it, Rage?
Sorry, I was miles away. Grantis Caracas jumps his way onto the pit to get out of the way. Rain has come, by the way, Tim. Rain has started, and that might have thwarted any other possible challenge for the top 10. There are cars pulling over straight away now, and that rain's pretty heavy looking at it. So I'm not too sure what the guys are going to do now. I don't know what the plan is. Rain has started. What do you do? Well, there's not a lot. Luke Whitehead's thrown in the towel. This might be the grid for the race. Grantis Caracas from Luke Whitehead, from Valentin Barrier, Hall, then Barrier, then Boothby, Siata Fisher. They're all in, Tim.
somehow Barrier is still 0.1 up on his time. How on earth that is possible, I have absolutely no idea in these wet conditions, although that does appear to be dropping off. I think he's just throwing absolutely everything at it, fully aware this is going to be his very last chance to set a lap. And when he comes into the pits, I genuinely thought he might have stayed out there just across the line just to see if there was an improvement, but I think that's pretty much going to be the end of quali, isn't it? I mean, realistically, no one's...
We don't want to say it is. I think it is.
No one's going to be able to improve on their times now that it's wet. I mean, if you took too long to get out there, then that was a real mistake. I mean, I think every driver pretty much jumped out the pits as soon as they possibly could. But yeah, here we go. And that's our final car. Oh no, car number 14 is still out on the circuit. Car number 14, that is Jay Fang, who hasn't actually set a lap time yet, so realistically is just desperate to not be at the back of the grid, so out there putting in some kind of time. So we'll stay on board with Jay Fang. That glorious livery, the Team Shumi Skins livery, the great big dragon all up the side of it. I think there's some Porsches running in some of the classes, in the different tiers as well that have got these. I think one of my tier 2 drivers actually has this livery as well. But, God, you can see struggling with the oversteer. I mean, it's going to set a time, but realistically, I think it's pretty much only going to be 21st. I think Nerworth is the only driver who hasn't then set a lap time. So unless he's going to put wets on and give it a go. Oh yeah, car number 992 has gone out. So where is 992 placed? That's Ciata in 6th. I somewhat doubt he's going to be able to improve. Oh, big slide from Jay Fang. I doubt he's going to improve from 6th place on wets.
No, I think it's just maybe an exploratory couple of laps out there. I'm not 100% sure what the planned situation is for the races. He's just having some fun. I'm not too sure what the planned situation is, whether we're going to have mixed conditions again. Track is greasy, as you can see. In 10 minutes time it's going to be eased off, but I mean, yeah, that's throwing away any chance of having a change. I think Conrad's just getting some sighter laps in. Might as well keep yourself fresh. If you're out of the car for 5-6 minutes and you put in a qualifying session going into the race, it'll be a little bit of a disconnect. You might as well still lap round and prepare yourself possibly for some mixed conditions later on.
Yeah, bit of extra practice in the wet, always a good shout. It's not the kind of thing you overly practice realistically, is it? Normally when you're out there sort of hot lapping or racing, it tends to be in the dry. It's when you're doing your most amount of practice you possibly can. Yeah, and the weather has just gone to damp track conditions and a huge power slide. I actually wonder if he is out there on dries still.
No, he's not. Definitely on wets. You can see it's the black tyre wall on the side of the tyre there. Yeah.
See, these are the things that having a second man in the booth, that makes all the difference. Being able to keep an eye on those tyres. Oh, another huge power slide there.
I think there are some other cars coming out and doing the same thing. See Valentin Barrier here from the Assetto boys. He's decided to get some time under his belt. I mean, you've got 4 minutes. What do you want to do? Do you sit and watch the time disappear, or do you carry on going? Vanko Dimitrov is back from his ban, so obviously he had the little bit of a slap on the wrist last time out at Brands Hatch. He is back and he's out on the track getting some laps under his belt. So is Smith. Foch, Remy Papin joins him. We've got cars off into turn 2. That's the Tamburello section. I didn't see who that was, unfortunately.
Oh, actually, let's see.
Was it Boothby?
Yeah, so we've actually jumped on a replay of that one. Why not? Let's have a quick look. There's I don't think we're going to see any change to the grid too much. So yeah, we'll jump on with Boothby.
Yeah, I did also see their Fang threw it into the grass. And yeah, Boothby is actually going off the track again and again. And again.
Yeah, that was turn 1, just turned in and over-rotated the car immediately.
He's got triple tyres on. That'll be why. He's got the dries on.
I mean, that's a brave strategy. I wonder if he's just entertaining the fans at home with that.
I think he's trying to do a bit of drifting, I think, and it's not working for him. We did have actually, I think in one of the other, I think it might have been Laguna Seca, we were treated to a bit of drifting. I've got a funny feeling it was Conrad Ciata gave it a go, and he was actually very good. But yeah, I think Boothby's just going out there, just enjoying himself. 3 minutes to go then in a session that we aren't going to see any improvements. Pole sitter though, he's out. He wants a bit of time under his belt. Grantis Caracas, he wants to see if he can get a little bit of time on the wet tyre, just in case, you know, there's a wet session. Oh, loses the rear end at the top of, I think that's turn 9. Piratella, apparently it's called. Aqua Minerale then, this fun section. Variante Alta is the chicane. Then you go into the Ravazza section, which is turns 17 and 18. And apparently Variante Bassa is across the line. It's a bit strange, isn't it?
To be honest, it sounds like you're just describing food.
Variante Bassa, please.
It sounds stunning. That sounds amazing. Just like, you break out the pasta sauces. Absolutely fantastic. Just having a little look now, as obviously as Caracas comes to the end of this lap. Track is damp. No sign of the rain ending before the end of qualifying, and even if it was, big power slide there onto the back straight. Yeah, a couple of the cars still out there. I think, to be fair, Black Goldsaw is someone who I imagine is trying to get as much practice as possible out there in the wet, because obviously being on a controller, he'll probably be a bit disappointed if it's wet this end of the season. It'll be extremely hard to control the cars when they start to let go in the wet when you're on a controller. I mean, it's literally an inch of a stick to try and control it. That is, even in the dry, I am still baffled by this man's pace. But in the wet, surely that's a nigh on impossible sort of feat.
I've heard he's pretty good at controlling an inch anyway, so I'm sure he won't worry about the conditions out there. George Boothby's still having fun though. He's coming through the first couple of sections. No, he decided to pull the car over. Not too sure what he's really doing, to be fair. I think George is just having fun. How long have we got left? A minute and a half of these shenanigans. We're not going to see much more, I don't think. The track isn't going to get any drier. It's now gone to damp. We've gone into the next stage. So I guess, what do you do at this point? You got to maybe keep yourself in the game, do a few laps, and see if you can keep the car in that operating window in these conditions. Get yourself a good bit of information just in case we do see those in the race. But yeah, chances that it's going to be like this in the race, probably quite slim, but we'll see. I mean, it can get wet, as we know from this year, in this area of the world.
Let's have a little look. To be fair, there is an 11% chance of wet on this race. So probably finding that because we're seeing it in qualifying, that will probably be the only chance we're going to see it. There's a 53% chance it's just dry and 11% chance it's wet. So I have no idea how that math works. But there we go. This is why I'm not a very good racer, because I can't understand that math. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, hang on, that doesn't make any sense at all. But there we are. That's the way it works. So while we're waiting for this bit, in the last sort of 40 seconds of qualifying left over, so let's have a quick run through again of the top 10 in the championship. So we've got Luke Whitehead in first, Valentine Barrier in second, Jonathan Riley in third, Giardier in fourth, Aidan Walshingham in fifth, Oscar Houle, or as we always call him O'Hoole, it just slips out, in sixth, Leonardo Pocchio in seventh, Mattia Di Campo in 8th, Conrad Ciata in 9th, and Gert Fischer rounding out the top 10 of the championship. A little bit of room for movement in the sort of the lower 10 in the championship, but I think the very top spot is all but claimed, especially with Whitehead's dominating force in qualifying there, out-qualifying his closest rival, Barrier. So I don't think we're going to... Well, you never know, it might be wet again, mightn't it? That would be the thing. If it's wet in the actual race, that really throws a spanner in the work for a lot of drivers, doesn't it? I mean, we've seen it a million times. You think to yourself, oh yeah, get yourself comfortable, think it's going to be dry, and then out of nowhere, boom, here comes the wet.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to be keeping their eyes in, I think. With the chance there, it doesn't hurt for the likes of Grantis Caracas, Luke Whitehead, O'Hoole, Barrier, Boothby, all giving it a go in these conditions. I know some of them are, some of them aren't. At least I think Gert Fischer's actually having a go in the BMW. It's big enough to be a boat, let's be honest. But it doesn't hurt keeping your foot in. And if it does rain, like you say, chaos. There's only 22 cars on this grid today, so you won't have to worry too much about traffic as such. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun afternoon. I know we don't have all the drivers here. We don't have some of those in the top end of the spectrum as well. I don't see Jardier's name in the list today, so he's decided not to take part in the last round. But it is the last round. It does happen sometimes in the last point of the season. But hey-ho, it's going to be a fun race. We shall wait until we go over to the next session, and then we'll go down the grid that we've got this afternoon that was set in pretty much 3 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was the smallest amount of time. I mean, basically, we were quite lucky, to be fair, that actually Whitehead managed to set a lap. Normally, with his 2 out laps, normally that would sort of be a case of he'd missed his chance, but I think he just snuck a time in before the rain started. So, it's looking, well, to be fair, the timing, but my timing screen. There we go. Now it has changed instead of
Looking
it is
good.
dry.
Looking good for the next 30 minutes as well.
Fantastic. That's what we like to see. The start of the race, at least, should be nice and dry. So we'll start at the very front of the grid and work our way through, if my timing board allows. There we go. Now we're sorted. Right. Let's get a slightly better camera. See if that one. Go on, Caracas. What's gone on here? Apologies, everyone at home. There we go. Now we're getting some things changing. There we go. Right. Try and get a better camera. Come on. Why is it always rage when there is a change on the track that everything just goes a bit wobbly, as I can't even get off of the splitter of Caracas at the moment. I mean, we've got loads of time to run through. There we go. There we go. Now it's sorted its life out. Sorted. Right. So pole position is Grantus Caracas. Luke Whitehead in second. Oscar Hall third. Valentine Barrier fourth. George Boothby in fifth. Conrad Ciata in sixth. Gert Fischer seventh. Aidan Walshingham in 8th, Hacker in 9th, Dimitrov in 10th. So moving outside of the top 10. Jonathan Riley in 11th. He'll be slightly disappointed with that qualifying, I would imagine. De Campo in 12th, Taddy in 13th, Black Goldsort down in 14th place, Samir Fock 15th place, Rashanov 16th, 17th is Papin, Makowski in 18th place, Stachecki 19th, Seminara 20th, Jay Fang 21st, Norworth 22nd, and Isiacek in 23rd place, respectively, rounding out the grid. It's a good old lap here, I think, with Imola. It's one of those circuits that it's not one I have a massive amount of practice with. I know it's a very, very popular circuit all around the world, and especially sort of in real life and in sim racing communities. It's a massively popular circuit and understandable. It's a very fun circuit. What kind of experience have you got here, Rage?
Not good ones. No, I'm only kidding. Not a lot, to be fair. I don't think I've done any racing as such round here. We have done some racing throughout the GT3 AOR calendar. But, I mean, as far as personal experience, not a lot, really. On ACC. F1, though. Fantastic track. I mean, it's okay. It's not up there with my favourites. I do prefer Brands Hatch. I think that was a fantastic track. And it's always good fun to watch the cars go around. But this one is a good, long track. Lots of availability for people to change and swap positions, be it into turn 2, be it into the very end when you go into the final section, and going across the line. So, yeah. I actually don't know where the balance of power sits this afternoon. I think there'll be some crazy overtakes somewhere, I'm sure, because I think these guys are just going to be as confused about the running order as us. But interesting enough, we've got Grantus Caracas, Luke Whitehead on the front row, Ahul and Barrier on the second. You've got Boothby and Ciata on the third. All big names this season, apart from Boothby because he hasn't been here for a majority of it. But yeah, I don't know where it's going to start. I don't know who's going to put a wheel up the inside at any given point. I don't know. It could be anybody's game today. I think, though, it's Luke Whitehead's race to lose. So, albeit no mechanicals or no major incidents, we might see a championship decider hit. What was the number that we had to have? What, 20, what was it?
Well, the gap at the moment between Whitehead and Barrier is 76 points. And with 21st place was 10 points. So I think it's 8 points for 22nd place. But basically, that was as high up the grid. If Valentine Barrier wins, to win the championship, Luke Whitehead has to come 21st or 22nd. Or not finish at all, essentially. That is how much of a gap there is. So realistically, even if Whitehead has an absolute stinker of an outlap and gets taken out for whatever reason, or halfway through the race has a major accident, as long as he actually finishes the race, even if it's a case of, back to the pits, sort his car out, sits there for 5 minutes repairing, and then gets to the line, unless Valentine Barrier is in first place, he really does not stand a chance. Because I think it's 100 points for first place, 88 points for second. So yes. I think maybe if he's second place, he can still just about do it if Luke Whitehead comes right at the back of the field.
I'll do some maths. So Luke's got 504 at the moment. And so Valentine Barriers 428. 76. So he has to finish. Let's get this up there. So Barrier has to win, and the highest he could be, I think, is P15. If my maths is right, you get 24-point gap between them. So yeah, I think he would be okay all the way up to P15. I think, because you get 22 points for P15, and P14 is 25 points, which wouldn't be enough. So yeah, he's got to finish P15 or above to be no, P14 and above. Sorry, any lower than P14, I don't know. Any lower than P15, and I think we're in for a problem. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. I am not the maths man. When it comes to maths, that is not my position. I can do yelling at motorsport all day long, but when it comes to putting numbers in front of me, then that's a big old no-no. Probably why I'm awful again at racing, because I always get the wrong amount of fuel and things like that.
Yeah, it's 24 points is the gap if there's a race win. So he'll have to get at least 25 points, and you get 25 points for P14. So anything lower than P14 isn't enough to win the championship if Barrier wins. So there is a yardstick still.
It doesn't seem possible, does it? It seems like that gap at the front is too much. But Valentine Barrier, very, very fast driver, obviously only on the second row. It's we know that sometimes that Audi takes a little bit longer to switch its tyres on in comparison to the McLarens around them. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not it actually gets it done. So final run to the line now. Just waiting on that green light. Going to go helicam so we can get a bit of a better shot over the starting grid. We can say old teammates as well next to each other, Caracas and Whitehead. It'd be interesting to see if they're still friends or there's bad blood there. Caracas taking a very left-hand line. Almost looking like Whitehead's almost just starting to creep in front as everyone's stacking up. Who's going to get the best jump on the lights? It seems like an incredibly late green light to come along.
It's all the way around the corner as
It
well.
is, isn't it? Because the finish line of the start line. There we go. Green lights are gone. Good start by Whitehead. Already going to try and go up around the outside. Ball shuts across in front of Barrier, and we've also got Ciata coming up behind, although now under braking. Is everyone going to make it through clean? Oh, there's a little touch between third and second there. Caracas already making a break for it and running away. Boothby looks like he's a little bit unsettled further back in the pack, but so far so good, I think. No one appears to have gone off.
We're all good towards the back as well. The most action, I think, is what you saw at the front between Oscar Hall, Luke Whitehead. Just took a nip at the rear quarter. Luke Whitehead then sacrificed his line, but took a much shallower entry into turn 3, and that let Grantis Caracas just run away a little bit. But yeah, no, all good from the back at the moment, Tim. Keep us informed what's going on at the front.
So at the moment, no position changes. So basically, Caracas still in front. Whitehead second, Hall followed by Barrier, followed by Boothby. But this top 4 appear to be breaking away ever so slightly. Barrier actually looking very aggressive on the back of Hall already. So Hall.
Yeah, we do have a change at the back. Sorry to interrupt you there. I think that was the Porsche, the purple Porsche. I think Conrad Ciata might have seen an incident into turn 9. He definitely was in the kitty litter, so I'm not too sure what instigated that, but he is now running fairly towards the back. No, actually at the back of the pack, unfortunately for Conrad.
Oh, that is not what you want this early in the race. We're going to stick up the front for now. There's a little bit of a battle going on slightly further back. I think that is... Right, here we go. Here's Ciata bringing up the back of the field. Deary me, not what he would have wanted, and he's now got a lot of traffic to battle his way through. He should hopefully be able to get up through it again, but maybe not right up at the very pointy end of the field.
Yeah, Newellworth and Jay Fang going toe-to-toe at the back of the grid behind Simone Simonera. That's pretty much all that's happening towards the back end. There is another car, I think that's Mikowski, going side by side with Remy Papin.
Oh, and I just saw Jay Fango flying off the outside of the circuit as well. Well, he's rejoining, but he's now going to join all the way at the back.
Tamburello not doing the business for Jay Fang today. It's a couple of times I've seen him in there, even in the qualifying session. But the battle at the front is looking pretty almost set. Grantis Caracas got himself a lap and some change ahead. Whitehead and Hall separated by 2/10. Barrier 7/10 back with Boothby 3/10 back from then. Then you've got a small gap to Gert Fischer, bringing up the rear of the top 10 with Walsingham, Dimitrov and Hacker, and then DeCampo rounding them out. Jonathan Riley, Black Goldshaw, Jonathan Riley not performing in the latter end of this season, it seems. Just really struggling. He's got a couple of people, I think that's DeCampo and Black Goldshaw, 4 companies. Black Goldshaw goes up the inside and tries to get a move into the Variante Alta, but not going to get it done there. He's going to have to settle back in for 12th place and try for another position later on.
We'll quickly apologise to everyone at home. For whatever reason, you know what it's like, Rage, the camera control has completely frozen on me at the moment, so we are currently stuck with Jay Riley. It's a nice little close battle going on, so apologies to everyone at home. I'm desperately trying to get things to go. I do not want to have to leave the session and come back in again, so I'm trying to get it to work. You know what it's like, Rage. It's always the way. It's you know.
Absolutely fine.
Oh, goodness gracious! Come on, pestuous computers. So yeah, currently on board.
When you say the camera pro, what do you mean? What's going on? When they come off Jonathan Riley?
It completely froze on Jonathan Riley, and then all the numbers froze up. So I thought, oh, that's fine. I'll just quickly close it and rejoin it. Oh, kind of a 99 getting bumped off there. The Campo is a. God, Riley scores quite the bottleneck. Yeah, and then it just will not now connect to the server, which is just glorious news.
If you dropped it out and then had to restart it, it will be a restart of the session, unfortunately, for you. Be a jump in and jump out jobby. But I'll stay with Grantis Caracas if you want.
If you can keep everyone updated, we are going to, I'm afraid, we're going to have to just go to sort of radio play for just 2 moments. So sorry about that to everyone at home. So we're going to have to quickly jump in and jump out. You know what it's like. It's just so
It happens.
Glorious.
I am also in the pit timings, and I think if you have an incident, then I screw things up. So it might be me as well. So
no,
apologies. I'll stay out of it for now.
No, it's all fine.
We still got Grantis Caracas in the lead then. Luke Whitehead leading the way. Hall still on hot pursuit. Valentine Barrier, the man hopeful for the championship challenge, down in 4th place with Boothby for friendship there. Gert Fischer still following behind, and Aidan Walsingham's actually starting to get a bit feisty on the back of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some movement going on a little bit later between those two. Gert Fischer is slightly holding up the latter there. Walsingham though wanting to get past in the Veloci Esports Ferrari. The other Veloci Esports Ferrari, DeCampo. Is it Ferrari or is it Lamborghini? It's Lamborghini, and it's not Veloci. It's just the similar colours. He has actually been really caught up in that battle that we saw earlier on with these guys. And Black Goldshaw's actually dropped miles down. He's in the pit. Okay, well there you go. That'll be why. Not too sure why the early pit was selected now, but he is in the pit and going for another one. Not too sure why though. Bit strange.
We are back. We are back with live images. Apologies about that. It's just the joys of doing everything at home with what can only be described as an absolutely rubbish timing app. Hopefully we're going to move away from, aren't we? Hopefully we're going to move away from it for next season. We're doing our very best to try and move away from the awful app that is there. So currently on board with Gert Fischer, who's having a nice little squabble at one point. That was with Walshingham and Boothby. That appears to have opened up just a little bit. Goodness gracious. Apologies to everyone at home for that one. Look right at the front. Going to jump back on board with him quickly. I know he's absolutely flying away, but Grantis Caracas running away with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of championship points, he's almost doing his ex-teammate a disservice by winning this one, because really Whitehead needs to gain as many as he can. And with Barrier right behind him, I know he's still technically, got hold of the championship. As long as he finishes in front of Valentine, that's going to be the big thing. If he can finish in front of Barrier, it doesn't matter if they are 21st and 22nd, as long as he outscores him, that's going to be the main thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
So
he's just got to stay in the top 14. As long as Whitehead's in the top 14, it doesn't matter what happens. Even if Barrier wins it, it's just got to stay there. He's got so much in hand. He's got 70 odd points. He can afford to not finish inside the top 10. Barrier would have to win. So I wouldn't worry too much about the situation surrounding Luke Whitehead. He's going to stay where he is. The main situation, though, I think, what's interesting is the McLaren's incredibly fast around here. You can see Grantis Caracas, O'Hall, Barrier, all inside the top 4. The only other McLaren that's outside is Volkman back there in 22nd, Jay Fang but they've not had the best of afternoons, so that's probably a little bit more understandable. Moving on from that then, the Ferrari's pretty speedy here today. You've got Boothby in P5, Wilson in P7, then you've got Riley Camel-Bosch in 9, 10, 11. What caddy is that? I don't think we've met that one before.
I do recognise the name. I really should know where. I believe he might have been a Tier 2 driver before. I did make an amazing sheet at one point in my life. I've completely misplaced it on my computer. It's, you know, one of those kind of days. Currently running in 47th. He was with us with rounds 1, 2, and 3, but then has not been able to start the last 3 rounds. So, yeah, he's been a little bit out of touch. But to be fair, running in 10th place, that's a really good effort to sort of, you know, after jumping back into the season after being away for just a little while. Little tight battles going on at the moment. Jay Fang, ooh, there we go. Speaking of fast McLarens, McLaren chasing after Nurworth. This is the battle for 15th place, and it's Fang and Stachecki shouting out after behind these guys. Absolutely flying down towards the final sector. Nurworth at the moment keeping his elbows out, keeping that car as wide as possible, but that is a very, very racy looking McLaren right at the back of him, and he's going to have the toe as they come down the, I say the pit straight. It's a bit of a pit wiggle, isn't it? There's not an entirely straight bit, but it's so wide it might as well be a straight. And even with all the track to use, they're still cutting all the way across the green on the inside of the corner. Track limits down.
You've got to. Fang looking for an inside line.
Oh wow, that was...
Oh my goodness gracious.
I think he completely outbraked himself, realised it was all going to go wrong, and just decided, well, let's try and go evasive, and loses a position for it. A slightly obscure line to take, and I think he's going to lose another position as well, actually, just behind him. Pretty sure that Seminara is coming through. Oh no, he's battling with Seminara. Now Seminara looking to go around the outside after a little bit of contact. Jay Fang holding on to that inside line. Is he going to still be there? There's more contact between them. Goodness gracious. That might be one for the stewards. I've heard of elbows out.
A little bit angry, isn't he? I think Mikowski's struggling behind him now. But yeah, Seminara getting past. Mikowski's now going to have to get past the problem that is Jay Fang this afternoon. Not too sure I've ever seen anyone go that fast into turn 3 before, but never mind. Straight across the gravel. Jay Fang enjoying himself, it seems.
Oh, here we go. Reshinov, and this is versus De Campo up at the chicane. BMW versus Lamborghini.
Oh dear, I'm terribly sorry to interrupt you. Jay Fang just absolutely yeeted it through the Variante Alta, and to be fair, I think he really should. I think he's actually left us now. He's going to get a huge slap on the wrist for that driving. I can't see him coming out very favourably with the stewards after that.
Jumping back on board to get a replay of that one just before he disappears from the server. So yeah, it's obviously the replay coming up the hill now. Big dive to the inside, and just, yeah, not sure what's gone on there. The Lamborghini that was in tow with him had really nowhere to go and had to completely avoid the corner, and hopefully has not picked up a track limit warning for that one, because that really was, there was no choice but to go evasive at that point. So quick jump on board, back at the point at the end of the grid. Caracas still flying away with the fastest lap of the race as well, showing absolutely no signs of slowing down. Whitehead, Hall and Barrier still pretty much in tow.
A bit of change for P6. Walsingham just got past Gert Fischer into turn 4, 5. So, turn 5, sorry. Turn 5, turn 6. Variante field nerve, apparently, that area. Weirdly enough, but anyway, changing positions. The number 2 gets himself up in position. Gert Fischer having to settle for 7th.
Still absolutely nothing to be sniffed at, is it at all? Oh, I just realised that Black Goldsalt is still in the pits. So,
yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, that's a shame. No, absolutely fine. I mean, it's one of those things. It's just, real shame. Car number 67. Who was that? That was Assetto, who actually started from pits. But fair play, still out there. Just going to jump on board with him quickly now. That's another one of our McLarens, the Macca GT3 team. Great looking car, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that I overly enjoy driving unless it's wet, which I know probably makes me sound like an absolute psychopath. But no, it's my favourite car to drive in the wet. Back on board with them.
Wise to hop up to P2, P3.
On board with them now.
A bit of a run with Luke Whitehead. Pulls to the outside. Luke Whitehead goes defensive. Nice early on the brakes. Hall tries to get the cut back. Doesn't really work. Has to settle. I think he might have a run down into turn 5 and 6 if he stays with him. Luke Whitehead going defensive. Look at this. Really struggling to keep his position, but he holds on. Fantastic driving there from Luke and from O'Hall. These guys have got previous this season. Flashbacks to Brands Hatch when they went side by side and Luke Whitehead coming off the worst. But look who's fighting at the rear of these boys as well. You've got the other championship contender of Valentin Barrier just hoping that they make contact, and Luke Whitehead gets sent off back to P14-15 so he can claim his maiden championship with AOR in Tier 1. Would it happen? Who knows? Anyone's going toe to toe. You could always have a few tears, especially around Imola.
Yes, there's so many places we could go off, so many gigantic sausage curbs on the inside. It really doesn't take much for it all to go awry. I mean, we obviously saw it earlier on with Jay Fang, obviously that small mistake, and then just kept making mistakes after and after. I've got to say, the setups on these cars must be so soft to be able to take those sausage curbs quite as aggressively as they are. I mean, the Audi's always been a bit of a brute when it came to curb usage. It can always seemingly climb over any mountain, but the McLaren always used to be a very skittish girl when it came to curbs and sort of other obscurities on the circuit. But to be fair, the two setups of Hall and Barrier seem to be really comfortable, and I do think though that looking at the traffic building up behind, that maybe Whitehead is becoming a bit of a cork in the bottle. So obviously Caracas
Might be another move here again.
Oh, fingers crossed. It's close. I mean, it's surprising to see Whitehead going so defensive this early in the race, to be fair. Like, normally he's the kind of driver that just keeps going and doesn't need to defend that much. But yeah, really seeing him doing some smart driving, taking all the momentum away from Hall. That's the main thing. Sometimes it's not a case of like just necessarily cutting off the line. It's slowing your car down in a position where you know that it then leaves you sort of strongest. And the Audi sort of appears to be strongest, I would say, through sectors 2.
Yeah, towards the end of that straight, Tim, O'Hall had to lift before turns 2 and 3, and that brought Barrier right up in. I think that Audi's clipping towards the end of the straight. I don't think it's quite got the legs that the McLaren's got, and it gets into maybe about 200 metres towards that first section of Tamburello, and the cars behind have to lift off. Watch it again as they go down that pit straight. You can see if you can see the Audi struggling, because it seems to be fast everywhere else, doesn't seem to be having problems in most of the track. And just going back to what you're saying about the rumble strips, as we see the biggest kind of example of what we're talking about, I've noticed all season long the Audi of Luke Whitehead abusing the hell out of the sausage curbs and using it to great effect. Look how high up he's in the championship. He's able to really flaunt that exploit in that car that he's able to develop, which is fantastic. That's all what racing's about. Anyway, we're on board with them now. I'll let you speak in a minute, Tim, as they run down towards turn 2, and we'll see if that car starts to struggle in the top end. You can see O'Hall slowly climbing onto the back of Luke Whitehead. He's gaining and gaining. Getting into that area where he can make a move, but he was so far back he wasn't able to do it. But look how much time he made up just going down the straight.
Yeah, on the rear wing of him on the stream there, and you could see the gap is slowly coming down. That gap just, especially towards the latter half of the pit straight, it just suddenly started to disappear. So having a little look elsewhere on the grid at the moment. Oh, Dimitrov having a real close battle, actually. Let's have a quick jump on with them. It's Siata versus Dimitrov. Siata up the inside under braking. Gets the move done into turn 1. Fantastic drive. And to be fair, Siata on an absolute recovery drive at this point. Currently down in 19th place and looking to regain some of those positions that he lost. So yeah, he'll be very disappointed with what he lost. We're going to jump back on board with this lead battle now. I say the lead battle, this is the battle for second place. That pole position's absolutely flying away. Still actually, looking at it as well, looking there with that last lap from Caracas still being in the 140s and everyone else in the 141s. So the kind of difference that Caracas is doing is absolutely astounding. Sadly, we probably won't get to see him that much on stream unless he's just disappearing off into the distance in front of these guys, because yeah, realistically he's on his own little race. But surprisingly, Luke Whitehead has now sort of turned the tyres on and getting away, as I think Hall is now having to maybe struggle a little bit as Barrier's coming onto the back of him, and I think that's been pushed on by the fact that Boothby has caught up with them. So suddenly the battle for second place is turning into the battle for third place, and it's still a three-way battle, because Boothby, hanging on to the back at the moment in the Ferrari, does appear to be slightly weaker in a straight line, the Ferrari, compared to the McLarens. But
looks it, isn't it?
But
it looks like that they're suffering going on that straight. I was going to say with why Hull might be dropping off. He's been following Whitehead quite a lot. He might have just scrubbed off a little bit of that tyre. That's put him back into barrier because he's been following for so long. So that could be possibly why barrier was catching him up.
Yeah, quite the high possibility. He's been pushing really hard for just over 15 minutes. I mean, he really didn't have any chance to sort of have a slow start. He just had to absolutely go for it, and obviously you've got to be very careful with tyres. They do have one mandatory pit stop, but you don't want to be pitting this early in the race unless you plan to, especially if you're battling. Oh, Valentine Barrier now starting having a little sniff up the inside of Hull. I think the slightest mistake from Hull and Barrier is going to jump in immediately like a child into a bull pit, headfirst diving. I don't think there'll be any chance of if a mistake is made by Hull, there will be no chances left. He will absolutely go for it. He's desperate to try and get as far up the grid as possible and take the barrier, take the fight back to Whitehead. And realistically, he almost needs to kind of almost try and force a mistake from Whitehead. Not something you often see from the Ripper, but who knows? Once he's under pressure from Valentine, it could happen.
You never know, especially as a championship contender. He might be a little bit more tentative. But yeah, Hall, I think, is definitely feeling that tyre slightly after the real push he put on to get onto the back of Whitehead. And now he's having to defend. His attention's been taken away from attacking to defending. And obviously, with the gap that you've got, he's going to be very much under threat, especially coming down into turn 2. But yeah, Boothby's lost a little bit of pace. He's only brought into the race, I think, by the little bit of a cork in the bottle that we're seeing from Hall. Barrier is definitely the faster driver at the moment. I don't have access currently to the split times, but he definitely looks like he's the faster driver currently. And this is, yeah, the battle that we're seeing right now is really the battle for the lead-ish. You know, Grantis Caracas is going to be running away with this race at the moment. Luke Whitehead just got to hold on. Doesn't need to do anything, you know, heroic. Otherwise, he could throw away what could be another AOR piece of silverware to put on his mantle. 3 times he'll be instead of the 2-time champ. All he's got to do is hold on steady and get to the end of the race.
I mean, you are the regular when it comes to Tier 1. I think you've been here basically since the dawn of time. It sometimes feels like, oh, mistake from Barrier, goes deep, and that's Boothby's chance to possibly come through. Where? Oh no, they are still just behind. He disappeared behind, but here we go. I think actually I did notice that everyone seems to be dropping off their times, and I wouldn't have thought that Luke Whitehead would have, but he's 1.2 seconds down on his lap. Oh, Riley with a 5-second penalty.
He had an incident, the exit of Aqua Minerale, because Hall caught up as well, and obviously Barrier was caught up going through Aqua Minerale. So yeah, I think everyone had a bit of a torrid time through that section, and it just concertinaed the whole pack. I've never seen that before. As Valentine Barrier calls it time, pulls in for the pits. Jay Riley's got himself a 5-second time penalty. Dimitrov also leaving the pit now, and we're having the 2 front drivers for P2. Oh, Hall finally getting a run on Luke Whitehead. Is he going to get it done round the outside? He is, Tim. Fantastic overtake there. You don't see that very often.
No, massive move up round the outside. He obviously had the confidence that he could do it, and I imagine Luke Whitehead as well is probably thinking there is no point battling it out and accidentally losing everything. It might be one of those races where we don't actually see Whitehead on his full attack mode. It might be a case of he, like we said, just needs to make sure he finishes inside the top 14, which is well within his wheelhouse. But yeah, Hall, mega move up the outside. Seriously good dive. Just looking at people's times, Caracas 0.4 down on his lap. So what has suddenly happened to the drivers at the front? Caracas actually is now 0.5 down on his lap time. Whether or not he's just sort of managing the gap, or maybe this is the lap where he's trying to maybe sort of have a quick change of tyre pressures. But yeah, suddenly now 0.6 down. So suddenly lots of drivers inside the top 10 that aren't particularly battling out for positions are starting to lose time. So not sure what's happening there. We're getting quite a few people into the pits as well. Fok, yeah. Barrier, Papin, Stachecki all into the pits. Who else has finished in the pits as well? Dimitrov has also completed their pit stop, although I think that was quite a lot earlier. I am seeing a couple of race control incidents coming in as well, and obviously explaining Jay Riley and Seminara's penalties.
I think the tyres have just started to go off altogether. Everyone else in the top 5 decides to give the pit a wide berth. Fisher goes past, so does Riley, Hacker too. No one else really wants to come in and get their tyres changed. Let's go a little bit further back. We'll see what the likes of Rechinov, Newellworth want to do. Seminara also with a time penalty now. And that is Newellworth deciding to come in and getting changed tyres.
Newellworth in the Aston Martin. This is I just realised this is the first race since the latest BOP change, the balance of performance. So that had a bit of a tweak again, didn't it? I've seen quite a few people online sort of with things to say about it. It has to be said. Some of the top boys a little bit disappointed with how things have gone. I do think actually one of the main ones was Jardier, who's not with us this evening but has been with us for the rest of the season. Was very much complaining about things that had happened, obviously not gone the way that maybe he wanted. Apparently Mercedes is still a bit of a beast.
We don't have the Mercedes today.
But we don't have any here, no we don't.
John Allen, was it? Allen, I think, was the Mercedes driver of the season. He's not with us at the moment. So what we're looking at right now then is the split between the two packs then. So you've got Valentin Barrier leading the split that have pitted, and crucially he's got himself some lovely clear air to put in some laps here. And it will be, how powerful is that undercut? How powerful is it going to be for Valentin Barrier to have some free time? And you've got to really be careful for the likes of O'Hall, Luke Whitehead and such, to if they get affected massively by this early pit stop, or earlier pit stop. It's still quite fresh in the race. We'll see.
He just missed Walshingham, got past Boothby at some point in the latter half of that lap. What happened there? Oh, it was a mistake through the chicane by Boothby. Just ran a bit wide, got himself unsettled. And there we go. Through goes Walshingham's going to have the inside for the final set of turns. Actually gets the move done. What a big flash of the lights from Walshingham. I think that was a celebratory get past Boothby. That's a fair old feather to put in your cap, out racing George Boothby. Oh, I've just seen it. Yeah, Whitehead into the pits as well, isn't he? Which I think you actually did say, but I'm now watching it on the replay, and I just felt like I had to say it again.
It's all right. No, I didn't say it. You've got Felix Hacker, Luke Whitehead, Rechinov and Seminara all in the pits. Probably wise to stay with someone like Valentin Barrier, see what he can do. He's coming through very anti-alta, so the chicane, the right-left chicane that normally catches a lot of people out, and see how much of an advantage he's managed to pull out by pulling this early pit stop. We'll see what happens to Luke Whitehead. He has actually been released now. He's been released out of that pit box as Valentin Barrier comes through the final corner. Gets released then down the pit straight. Let's see where Luke Whitehead is. See if this was a good thing to do. Remy Papu gets himself a drive through. That'll be for track limits. Where's Luke Whitehead then on the exit?
He's lost the position. He's definitely going to lose the position. Oh, absolutely screamed past. And he's going to need a lap to get those tyres up to temperature, isn't he? I mean, towards the end of the race, we're going to possibly see a little bit of change. You never know. It might be a case that Barrier's tyres drop off, but Barrier will be super pleased with that. Managing to get in front at this point is everything he needs. And to his credit as well, it does mean that maybe Whitehead's going to be thinking to himself, oh, hang on, maybe I do need to open up the taps a little bit and try and push. You know, as we said, he doesn't need to go super fast. Oh, stop go 30 for Rashanov as well. So that's speeding in the pit lane. Savage. That is the worst kind of penalty you can pick up in the game, isn't it?
Definitely not the best. Grantis Caracas then has got to be really looking about what happened with Barrier and Luke Whitehead there. Whether he's got the ability to do that in race, I'm not sure. Whether he's got a team around him to say, look, looks like Valentin Barrier was able to find himself at least 2 seconds in that pit stop phase. So you'll be losing at least 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap because of the undercut. And he's got to be careful because Grantis Caracas has put in all sorts of traffic because of this pit phase. So if he doesn't come in now, I think he'll be really putting himself at a bit of a disjustice, and he might even risk losing the lead here. This race then is for Barrier to win 100% if Grantis Caracas doesn't see the writing on the wall with this pit stop phase.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to pit soon, hasn't he? I mean, obviously there's traffic around him. They are obviously going to be under blue flag orders, but that doesn't mean they have to dive completely out of the way. They just can't defend. And even that, passing blue flag cars, well, to be fair, there we go, the Porsche getting right out the way of Caracas. Are we going to see him come into the pits? 2 corners to go till we find out. A lovely livery on that car, isn't it? He's staying out, surprising all of us and staying out. I just, yeah, I don't think that's going to, not necessarily going to work the best for him, I don't think. Oh, Walshingham comes into the pits, but I cut back to him just as he disappeared into the pits. He nearly clipped the inside wall, actually, as he came in, so very lucky not to take any damage. So on board with Boothby at the moment, running in provisional second, has not pitted yet. Walshingham and Riley are in. Riley obviously with that 5-second penalty to take as well. It's going to see him drop down the order. Oh, and there we go. Get an idea of who's doing the quickest laps out there. There we go. Barrier with the quickest lap. What have we got here with a 1:40.507? So really putting in some strong old lap times. And realistically, this is probably where the fastest laps of the race are going to be. They're lighter on fuel with fresh tyres. So I'd say in the next sort of 10 minutes is probably where we're going to see the fastest lap set and probably a lack of improvements. And you were saying about Grantis Caracas possibly losing time when he was out there lapping. And there we go, 0.2 of a second already this lap lost. And when you look at the pace of other drivers around him, that is too much time to be losing.
100%, definitely. He's massively risking his race here today. Interesting bit of information through that pit stop phase then. O'Hoole was able to come out in front of Luke Whitehead. Luke Whitehead having a disaster of an outlap by the looks of things, and O'Hoole slotted in right in front of him and in just behind Valentin Barrier. So Barrier's got friends. He's got someone to benchmark himself again. And I think that was another car coming out of the pit there. I think that might have been Aidan Walsingham, slotting just behind Luke Whitehead. That's actually a really good pit stop for Aidan Walsingham.
Yeah, to be fair, he's already really on the aggression. Is he actually going to try and make a pass on Whitehead here? He's already up beside him. He's having a look up the inside. How has he switched the tyres on that Ferrari that quickly? Immediately on the attack. I imagine I imagine Luke Whitehead's probably thinking to himself, hang on a second, I was winning this championship, and suddenly he's got everyone flying up around him. Whether it is a case of it's the BOP setup, just a case that maybe Whitehead is not that worried about trying to push. I mean, obviously I know we've still got 7 cars at the front of the grid that need to pit, but currently running in 10th place, and he's going to have to make sure he's got his head in the right place and thinking to himself, hang on, it's all right, I'm going to gain 7 places as the pits come through. Well, maybe not 7, obviously, compared to Boothby and Caracas. Hello?
Luke Whitehead's got a drive-through penalty. Luke Whitehead has a drive-through penalty and currently sits in P10. This could have consequences, Tim. He's used those curbs too much. He's abused them too much. And he could lose a championship because of it. He's got to come in this lap. Otherwise, it's going to kill him on the pace later on. He's got to pray he comes out above P15 when all these pit stops have sorted himself out. But that's going to cost him at least 20 seconds. He doesn't come in now. I've got no idea. Luke Whitehead must have his head in his hands.
This is the moment as well where I imagine Valentin Barrier, if he has noticed that on his timer screen, which I imagine he does, I imagine he's been keeping a very, very close eye on where Whitehead is. That's the kind of moment where you're going to suddenly get that big sort of flush of adrenaline will run through you. You sort of feel yourself, that cold feeling in your arms as the adrenaline hits you. And he's probably thinking, I just need to hold it together and keep pushing. I would wonder if sort of drivers around like Hoole, I wonder, to be fair, Hoole is behind him. I wonder if in a bit of sort of sportsmanship he might not take the fight too hard to Barrier, maybe sort of let him go. We've saw it in real life F1 years and years ago. I can't remember who it was. Was it Max Verstappen that was let through on one of the laps to gain a position to take away a championship, or someone? I honestly can't remember. It's been a long time since I've watched F1. So, but oh, there we go. Boothby in the pits. For some reason that only just appeared on my timing screen. So as things change, let's jump on board with our leading pitted driver, and that is Valentin Barrier. It'll be interesting to see what Whitehead can do and when is Whitehead going to take that drive through. Realistically, he just needs to get it over and done, and then he has more time to push at the end to try and regain positions. But so going to gain obviously some positions here, 2 more, Makowski and Boothby in the pits, so we would imagine that those positions are going to be gained by Whitehead. But unless he comes into the pits, it's all gone a bit correct. It's not what I expected, but there we go. This is what endurance racing. This is what esports is like, isn't it? This sort of sim racing. It can always go completely awry. It does not go how you expect.
I was just going on board with Luke Whitehead. He obviously, as people know, he streams quite regularly. He's got almost 100 people watching him. and he's screaming at his chat to ask it. Not screaming, but he's begging his chat to find out how many positions he needs, what position he needs to be in to still hold on to this championship. And yeah, I hope he's got the guys around him to give him the positive motivation to keep his head down and keep his championship hopes alive. He's got to do this drive-through and get it out of the way, and then concentrate on where he finishes. I did hear as well that his tyre, his pressures are struggling. So I think he's having trouble with that car in some way, shape or form. It might be something to do with going over those curbs at such a rate that he has been, but yeah, I mean, I really do hope he can hold it together. Valentin Barria's got to be praying for an incident later on, and Grantis Caracas is in the pit. So here we go. This is the big item that we wanted to see up next, Tim. I will quickly just see what's happening with Grantis Caracas. He has been released then. Valentin Barria is, whereabouts is Valentin? I think he's coming down towards the final few corners. I'm pretty sure Grantis might still be ahead here.
Yeah, I think Grantis is still going to have enough of a lead. I think he would have had enough time to get the car up to speed. I think, you know, obviously that was pretty close between, it was Whitehead and Hull, wasn't it? And at that point, and actually, yeah, Caracas already flying down towards turn 1. He's nearly there, and there is a car between them as well, car number 24. So there is a little bit of a safety cushion, and there we go, Whitehead into the pits. So we'll keep... Oh, hello, close battle going on here between Gert Fischer and Boothby. Gert Fischer to the outside down towards turn 1. Can he get anything done under brakes? No, he can't. Boothby holds onto it, but still side by side. A little bit of a rub between the two of them. Boothby maybe washed a little bit deep, trying to brake and stick tight, but wasn't able to. And Gert Fischer goes through, gains the position up into 8th place. Whitehead already down to 13th place and still sat in the pits. So I can only imagine he's losing more and more. It appears he's on the move now. Let's have a quick jump aboard and see where he is. Yes, leaving the pits now. And car number 44 is the one coming up behind him, who is in 19th position, car number 44. So he is now currently running in 18th place. Is it 18th place? I'm pretty sure it's 18th place. 17th apparently. I think the timing board's going to sort itself out. There we go, 18th place. 4 positions need to be gained, and they need to be gained pretty quick. 25 minutes and 40 seconds of the race left. Seems like an eternity, I imagine, for Valentin Barria.
Might not be, because Barria is in 2nd place and he's only going to get a maximum of 88 points. So I will go into statistics corner and work out what the maths is, but I think he is in the position he needs to win the championship still by 1 place. That's Luke, by the way.
It's going to be super tight. It's going to be so close, and he cannot afford to get another drive-through penalty. I mean, by this, obviously, by the 35-minute mark, he'd already picked up sort of a drive-through penalty, so he cannot afford to have it. Fingers crossed he can stay on it and hold on to his championship, but Valentin Barria will be very keen to hold on to it. But to be fair, Hull, it's just set in exactly the same lap. Hull has just set at 1:42.82, which is the same as Barria's fastest lap. Hull on the attack now. So what I was saying earlier on about maybe the McLaren guys playing it together and thinking to themselves, oh, there's a mistake from Barria, he's going to lose a position. Oh, and that's not going to work. That's not what he wants. He's dropped the position. It was all his own doing as well. He was just pushing so hard to keep Hull behind him, and it did not work. So there we go. If Rage is listening, it's now 3rd position that Barria is running in. So yeah,
even worse, unfortunately, for Whitehead. For Barria, sorry. Whitehead's actually, he's okay. In 2nd place, that Barria being, he actually needed to be 20th, so he could actually be last and still be winning it. Now, it doesn't matter. He just needs to finish the race if Valentin Barria stays where he is. Is that a dual fastest lap by any chance, there, Tim?
Yes, identical laps. And they were set on different laps as well, and that was a 1:40.282. And yes, they're from Hull and Barria. It was actually the lap after that particularly fast lap that Hull managed to make the move down through turns. I think it was turns... Well, it was a mistake from Barria just after turns 2 going into turn 3. Obviously ended up going a little bit deep, was tight on the inside, and then had to wash wide on the exit. And that was the end of that. Close battle still going on between Ciata and Mikowski. Absolutely fantastic. Mikowski actually joined us in Tier 2 a couple of seasons ago. Absolutely dominated with his absolutely amazing tyre management. I just don't understand how the man does it. He somehow manages to get tyres to go a ridiculously long distance. We've seen it in endurance racing as well, and I'm sure you have as well, Rage. That the man can somehow keep tyres running for much, much longer than anyone else can.
He's obviously very well attuned to the car that he's got, very delicate on the exit corners. Good throttle and brake applications, one would say. But yeah, Valentin Barry, though, at this stage, he's not going to have the calculators at hand that we do. And he sees Luke Whitehead. Well, he won't see him. That's the important thing. He knows that Luke Whitehead is that far behind. Valley might actually be thinking he could win the championship here. So he can only do what he can do, bless him. And he knows he's got to get past Hull to keep his championship hopes alive. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the driver of a champion to try and get past Hull. If he does get past Hull and goes to second place, Luke Whitehead needs to stay in 18th. If he goes to 19th or 20th, he could be in trouble. So yeah, I think Whitehead could hold on to it. Dimitrov behind, I think, is quite a way behind. So I think Luke's okay at this stage.
Yeah, nice bit of clear air. Oh, there we go. Like I say, Jay Fang in the pit, but yeah, he's been in the pit for a little while now, hasn't he? Nice battle going on between Fisher and Boothby. To be fair, these two have been in and out of positions. They've swapped a couple of times over the space of the race, but now very, very much squabbling, coming down through our final two turns. Be interested to see actually what the BMW does in comparison to the Ferrari behind. We saw the Ferrari looking a little bit weak earlier. Let's jump on that rear wing, looking back, and yes, you can already see the gap increasing as they come down the pit straight. The Ferrari just not able to hang on to the back of the brute that is the BMW. Kind of feel like the BMW is a little bit like the way the Bentley used to be, an absolute dominant force in a straight line, but maybe in other parts of the track just not quite as delicate, as you say, finely attuned as the Ferrari is. Got icy check into the pits as well. So basically, the top of the grid has now sort of levelled out where we would more expect to see it. Caracas with a whopping 7.5 second lead. That cannot be right. Is that right? No, it's not. It's 5 seconds. It was just the timing screen being obscure as normal. But this is the closest.
The job was just. Sorry to interrupt him. I was going to say the job's just been made even harder for Valentin Barry. Luke Whitehead's actually been promoted to P17, and he's within striking distance of Simonera in P16. So yeah, Luke cementing his championship push.
A quick jump on board with the wailing Audi. Obviously, as you said, running in 17th place. It's a great car. I used to love driving the Audi. I don't know why I went away from it. I think I just wanted a bit of a change and went over to the Mercedes. That and the fact that I love Mad Panda Motorsport. So I decided, let's try and have a go in their car and see what it's like. And I do quite like it. It drives the same in the wet as it does in the dry. Understeers everywhere. It's fantastic.
It's just a washing machine.
It's consistent. That's what I like. It doesn't change. It's not overly skittish. It just seems, it suits my driving style, which is bad driving style.
It's just bad. Felix is also in the Audi, I've just noticed. Did he change car mid-season? I think he might have done.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, P7 just behind Boothby. Felix Hacker. The 221 car, he's in the Audi. We only had one Audi at the beginning of the season, so he must have made some changes.
But yeah, able to tell on the championship, I would have thought. I
was going to say, Carrick is putting in huge laps. He's currently 8 seconds ahead, and he's got fastest lap of the race.
Fantastic. What was that? Oh, he's into the 139s as well. 825, and then his last lap was the 139.977, so consistent 139s. That's a seriously dominant bit of pace, that is. That's some real good going. Obviously, I remember when Caracas joined us in Tier 2. When he joined, he had a couple of seasons with us and then came up to Tier 1, and it's really good to see the development of this driver. He's a really fast driver in lots of different disciplines now. Is he still with Veloce? He's not.
He's not racing for Veloce this season.
No.
I know they do switch and swap, but as far as I'm aware, he's not with them at the moment. At least for AOR purposes. I know they obviously take part in different leagues and stuff, so it probably depends. I've got no idea how it works. They might sign up for sponsorship for certain leagues, possibly. I don't know.
Same as me. Not sure outside of this. So it becomes a blur. There is so much sim racing out there, and so obviously not just sort of ACC as well. These drivers also drive in other games, iRacing and such, which is something I haven't got into quite yet myself. But Boothby versus Fisher seems to really be the sort of the battle to keep an eye on. Boothby again catching up with him a little bit through here through sectors 1. Really good run there.
BMW struggling with his tyre at the moment. Boothby seems to be just holding on indefinitely. Doesn't seem to be suffering running in the dirty air, so that kind of almost indicates that BMW is struggling slightly. Boothby munching up the tents behind him, almost in a position to get a move done into turn 8 and 9, which could be wildly outrageous.
I mean, why not? I'd say Boothby actually hasn't been with us many times this season, so he hasn't got any real championship to throw away. Oh, I think there was a little look to the inside there. All over the back of Gert Fisher still. Like an angry dog at the postman, he is nipping at his heels. And can Fisher make it to the end of the garden path and over the gate before Boothby latches on and makes a move? Definitely outside of the straight, that Ferrari is the dominant car, and I think a little mistake there on the exit by Fisher. Are we going to possibly see a move here into the penultimate?
He's got to drive through for that entry into Alta.
There we go. He's been pushing that a little bit too hard, and that's a drive-through, and that is the end of what has been a lovely little battle to keep an eye on, to be fair. Suddenly disappears away. Did we just see Caracas have an issue there? Oh, yeah. Oh, hello. Caracas just gone flying off. What happened there? So that's down in towards turn 1. We jump back on the replay. Gets the braking done. Throws it in. Oh, way too much of a cut. Keeps his foot planted as well. He's got to be a little bit careful he doesn't end up picking up a drive-through penalty himself driving like this. I know, obviously, you have to technically go faster than you were previously to pick up the cuts, but that was quite a significant cut through turns 1 and turn 2. As I know, it was through the gravel, but he kept his foot absolutely planted. So Stachecki versus De Campo. That's a nice little battle coming along. This is the battle for 11th place. Actually, that might turn into the battle for 10th place, depending on what happens with the timing board in Boothby. So Boothby has only just left the pits. Yes, he has. So this is the battle for 10th place, just keeping themselves inside the top 10. Stachecki versus De Campo. Oh, and De Campo having a little look up the inside there, maybe trying to make Stachecki a little bit uneasy. Two very, very different handling cars, Porsche versus Lamborghini. Both new cars actually this season as well, aren't they? I don't think the newer cars were around for the last Sprint Cup series. I might be wrong on that one. I'm sure you remember.
Yeah, Lambo's had an update, I think. I can't remember if the Porsche has. I think it's gone through 3 variations now, to be honest. Lambo's definitely had an update, as is the Ferrari, as we know. Porsche, I'm not really too sure.
I think it's a whole new car, isn't it? Or was it mid-season last time that it came around? I know there was a bit of a change at some point. Oh no, it was the Endurance Championship here, wasn't it, that they changed? And during some of the endurance racing, some things changed. Oh, another little battle going on. Samir Foch versus Taddy. Samir Foch for the prancing donkey. And Taddy is right behind him. Everywhere I go, I feel like as soon as I change cars, the next battle sort of hots up. We might see a move here into turn 1 here, though, by Taddy. Going to try and hold up the inside. No, going to the outside now. Being pushed all the way out wide. Trying to do it under braking. Can he get alongside him? Yes, he can. He's going to have the nose up the inside for turn 2. But there's a rub. And both cars go off. Oh, and Taddy rotates. Manages to get the car facing the right direction, but that's a huge lack of pace. And now...
Checky comment.
Yeah. Surely, yes, he does. He tries to go around the outside. Gets it done. And through as well goes Taddy. Oh, so trying to gain 1 position, ended up losing 2. De Campo will be very disappointed in that one. And realistically, his pace was not that much better than Stachecki and Taddy, so he's going to have a hard time getting back past them. And these two squabbling, they're certainly not going to make it easy for Campo to get past. But with all of that, Samir Foch will be thinking to himself, thank God for that. Bit of a breather for 5 minutes. Just try and maybe, you know, get himself back together and pull away. Oh, that Taddy looking very, very aggressive on the back of De Campo. Obviously pushing forward. We might see a move here up towards the chicane. Taddy doesn't go defensive. Leaves the door wide open, but he was far enough ahead. And Ciata, where on earth has Ciata come from? Absolutely flying up behind these guys as well.
He got past Neuworth a couple of laps ago, and obviously through the squabbles that happened into turn 5 and 6, I think Seattle just managed to reel in this pack. Yeah, Taddy losing out positions to both Di Campo and Stachecki through the little knock with Foch. Unfortunately for him, and Seattle takes too much on the exit, loses a bit of time down the pit straight. That will really affect him, especially if he's in the Porsche. I don't think we've got much going on towards the top at the moment though, mate. Looks like Valentine Barrier has found that kind of 1 second gap between him and Hall that doesn't really want to change. Luke Whitehead in 16th place now with Seminara with that time penalty, so he technically is running in 15th. So Luke Whitehead well on the way to championship number 3, so I'm sure he's just cruising, as that's all he has to do at this stage. The Seattle does find a bit of pace on the back of Taddy. Does look like Di Campo and Stachecki are going side by side as well on the exit of 7. But yeah, Stachecki holding on to the position. Di Campo looking like he wants to get a move on, and it's reignited the battle that they were having before Taddy got in the way.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a lucky escape for both those drivers with that recovering car of Taddy in front of them. They both managed to squeeze through. It was a little bit tight, and I think very much Di Campo had a bit of a harder time getting past, having to go too wide through the corners to get it done. And so luckily, Stachecki managed to get it done just before they started going through turns 3 and 4. It's a lovely looking car, this Porsche. It's a car I wish I could drive because it looks great, sounds fantastic. But yeah, just one of those cars that really does require quite a well-versed hand, and I definitely do not have that. But pushing on nicely, that Porsche. I always struggle with understeer when it comes to the Porsches. I know obviously being rear-engine, rear-wheel drive, that's obviously what can happen. But just my style of driving of kind of get the braking done, turn it in, hope it sticks, and pull out the throttle and blast through the corner does not work in the Porsche. So it's it's a bit of a shame I can't drive it, or I could probably learn to drive it. But by the time I've done that, I'd probably be 45 years old and would then be probably hanging up my wheel at that point.
It takes a seasoned hand, I think, to get the Porsche under wraps. I mean, it is the new Porsche, by the way. Just had a look at it. It is the new one that Seattle's driving, and Seminara. And it was the update came pretty soon. Campo up the inside. Yeah, inside of turn 7. I saw it happen as it evolved in front of us. They're going side by side then up towards turn 8 and 9. And it looks like Stachecki holds onto the position again. Seattle looking like he wants to try and get past Taddy as well. But seeing no gap there, Seattle actually nudges the back of Taddy, gives him a little bit of a boost. He's right on the back of Di Campo now. A real push to pass in front from Comrade Seattle, it looked like, and they're all 4, 5, 6 behind each other. Will we see a change going down into turn 14 and 15? I'm not sure. I was going to say about the Porsche, I know you were talking about how hard it can be to drive. Sometimes it has a bit of an understeer as you hit the apex. The best thing to do is almost straight line it on the brake, be really careful on the trail, and if you can get the turning done at the point of where you're not accelerating, let's put it that way, they are quite easy to handle. You just got to get that knack of the car.
Yeah, I think going from the Mercedes, which is very much all the weight at the front, to then trying to change over to the Porsche, which is all the way at the back, it's a little bit of a learning curve. Let's put it that way. In fact, let a Porsche go on the pit straight though. Like in Porsches of old, this would have been an absolute, 4 positions would have been gone immediately. All in the background as well. Seattle getting his tyres onto the gravel. Really good run here from Taddy. Di Campo. Can he get it done? Again, looks to the inside. Can't quite get the move done. Oh, and a Porsche in the background as well. Actually, I think Luke Whitehead is actually having a little bit of a squabble himself in the back of the shot.
Yeah, who is currently struggling with Seminara further behind in 15. Not too sure why he's taking any risks, but I guess he wants to get on and get ahead and see if he can continue on to this pack up ahead. He seems to have had his tyre trouble sorted out now, as he's got a little run on Simone here. He's going to get it up the inside. Nicely done, Luke Whitehead, then up to P15. It wasn't really a fight that he needed to do, but he would just be stuck behind the car in front if he didn't give it a go.
And you can sometimes find if you're not running at your full attack pace, which is obviously where you are most practiced, that tends to be when you make a mistake. So sometimes actually just, even though he didn't need to necessarily gain the position, just want you to push and get it done so you can then sort of focus again on just putting in as fast as laps as you possibly can. Taddy now on the back of De Campo. This might be a move under braking here. Yes, Ferrari looks to the inside. Can he get it done? A little bit of a rub between them. Oh, kind of a 99 goes flying off and loses 2 positions. It's going to be a case of who can have the better drag down the straight. So Taddy does go through. Whether or not that will be sort of looked at. Oh, bit of a bump there between Seattle and De Campo as well. That might be a case
I don't think Taddy had enough of his car up the inside of De Campo to warrant that pass, unfortunately.
No, I don't think
he was
so.
only up to the rear tyre, so I think Taddy might face a small penalty there, or at least risk it. I think it was an unnecessary collision that lost De Campo places, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if we see a little penalty. Probably only going to be a little 5-second one, as it wasn't a massive incident. I mean, luckily the car did not rotate, but while these have all been squabbling, look who's come to join the party. Norworth and Mikowski have caught up with the back of Seattle and De Campo. So De Campo having an absolute mare of a time right now and dropping back. But someone who is fully on the charge is Taddy, who has come up on the back of Stachaki pretty quickly. Now that he's passed some of the other cars, is it going to be 2 positions gained in 1 lap? Again, he's going to be possibly carrying a penalty, depending on what going back again. Seattle versus De Campo. I saw them side by side as they were coming into that sector.
Yeah, Seattle got the run through at Minerali. Well, he actually started it, teed it off in turn 9. Fantastic cutback. And then as they went down towards 10 and 11, Seattle got the outside line and just thrust it through at Minerali, and De Campo had nothing to give back on that. Yeah, fantastic overtake from Seattle. He's scything through the field actually at the moment as Taddy gets very close to Stachaki. We might see a change into turn 2 on this lap. 6 minutes to go, Tim, not long.
No, 6 minutes. I mean, we're looking at the championship. It's looking like it is going to be going the way of Whitehead, currently running in 15th place. He's got this battle in front of him. A couple of battles. Oh, here we go. Move into turn 1, possibly round the outside for Taddy. He has got his nose in front, but he's on the outside line. Has to relinquish the position. Through goes car number 144. Stachaki holds on to it, and that really, really compromised his exit. And now Seattle, a very, very fast driver, is coming up behind him. And I imagine Seattle will be licking his lips and thinking, I fancy a big old bite of that Ferrari. I know I can get past it. He's had the pace for it, to be fair. So looking at Seattle's lap times, actually the last time round was slower, but his best lap is quicker. So now he's made it through some traffic. This might be Seattle's chance to get himself up and inside the top 10.
Back a little bit further, George Boothby and Luke Whitehead looks like they may have come to blows recently. George Boothby just behind Luke Whitehead. Did we miss that? The Ferrari of Boothby in 16th place. Not too sure when that happened. Maybe Boothby went back a little bit. Because I know he got past Simonera, but I didn't see him get past Boothby. That's interesting. 2 tenths between those two back there in 15th and 16th. I wonder what happened there.
Boothby looking like the faster of the 2 cars as well, isn't he? Just jumped back on board with these guys. Simonara with a drive-through penalty. But Boothby really hanging on to the back of him. Is Boothby going to try and go up the inside? Possibly not. Or just going to be pushing along behind. 4.5 minutes of the race left. Still plenty of time for these two to squabble. And to be fair, Boothby and Whitehead, both 2 very accomplished racers. It's not going to be an easy pass for either of them. And that is exactly, again, what Valentine Barrier is maybe going to be hoping for. If he looks back and sees those 2 squabbling, he's going to be thinking, oh, please take each other out of force and accident.
I mean, this give it 2 seasons back, and George Boothby and Luke Whitehead were battling for championships, let alone P15. I'm sure Luke sat there going, why is George in P16? Why have I got this pressure in the final 3 minutes of this championship? Season 13 then, not going easy to the 2-time champ, soon to be 3, we hope. But yeah, Valentine Barrier still kind of hovering around that 1 second mark behind O'Hall. and looking like he's not going to be able to get one more position before the timer runs out today. The battle between Bukowski, Millward, Campo, Siata and Teddy looks like it's spicing up again, Tim.
Yeah, jump back on board with that one at the moment as they actually on board with Siata, so that middle of the pack. But yeah, even all the way forwards now, it's super tight as well. And oh, Neuwirth actually on the back of them, going toe-to-toe with Bukowski. Bukowski had a little look up the inside but wasn't able to do anything. Obviously that Aston Martin feeling maybe a little bit more confident through the chicane. It always used to be the go-to, didn't it, for sort of consistent driving. It was just really popular for endurance racing.
I hated it. It was a bag of bones. I've never really got to grips with it. I just couldn't drive that car. We had it for a good 3 seasons, I reckon, when we did endurance racing back in the day. But yeah, it used to be the old favourite. Not too sure why. It changed various times through the BOPs of the past. As Siata and Taddy and Stachecki get a little bit more familiar with each other through turns 2 and 3 into 4. Stachecki getting a really bad exit and Taddy looking to compromise to the outside. Then Taddy's going to be early on the brakes and he's going to try and move it round the outside. Fantastic move, and there is a touch. Here comes Conrad Siata to take away the pieces from Taddy round the outside of turn 7, and there is a small move and a small touch, and there goes De Campo trying to capitalise on what happened there, flashing of the lights from Stachecki. He's mad behind the wheel of that car.
I think actually on Taddy's part, it was a pretty clean move. He just managed to take advantage of that bad exit and make his way through. Siata, maybe a little bit of a rub between them, but I think now it is going to be a case of Taddy desperately holding on to it. 1 minute and 30 seconds left of the race. I would be amazed if Siata doesn't get this position. He has been driving like a man possessed, cutting his way back up through after that incident on lap 1. I really did not expect to see him inside the top 10.
That's a good point.
He has come flying through the field, hasn't he? Absolutely great drive from him today. I mean, obviously not in the chance of winning the championship or even coming in the sort of at the very top of it. I mean, championship points. Whereabouts is he? Siata. So a quick rummage, try and have a look.
A few sprinkles of glory, hasn't he, this season?
Yeah.
But nothing solid.
He's in 9th place in the championship, so he's got nothing really to lose. He's just absolutely gunning for it. But what a way to finish the season. Absolutely flying up through the field, showing that he's got a massive amount of pace and a great amount of driver skill to cut his way back through. Let's have a quick look back. So this is the championship leader coming into the back of this pack. Now this is where it gets risky. He's got cars fighting super hard in front of him. He does not want to end up getting collected in an incident this late in the race. I think we're going to see this. This might be the final lap, depending on what Caracas does. Looking at it, actually, Caracas
to get another one.
I imagine Luke Whitehead is going to be saying, "Oh, please, just let it be the end of the race. Let it just come." And Barry will be desperate to maybe have one more lap to give it a go. Yeah, I think we're going to see one more after this. Yeah, because Caracas coming towards the line now with maybe 5. Well, yeah, just goes through with 4 seconds left. Paddy throwing everything into that turn, just jumping forward in there, trying to outpace Siata, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it for another lap. He's got that car making it super wide, doing everything he can to hold on to it as well, still cutting back a little bit now. Got Whitehead very much caught up in the middle of a battle, and Boothby on the offensive. This is going to be a run down into the penultimate turn. He's got Neuwirth in front of him as well. It's going to stack right up. I don't think Neuwirth got the best exit. There might be 3 of them coming into this corner. And yeah, Boothby does look to the inside, decides to go against it. I wonder if to a certain extent Boothby is maybe just putting the scarers on him a little bit. Oh, I just saw a yellow flag in turn 1 and 2. That was car number 2. I'm not going to cut to it now. They've already gone to the pits. We're not going to cut to it on this final lap. There is far too much at stake. It does appear that maybe...
that's Walsingham in the pit. That's going to really upset the rounds.
Oh, that's going to upset, yeah.
Yeah, Boothby will get promoted up to another position, so will Luke Whitehead and Neuwirth. Everyone really will jump up one if Walsingham's called it a day there. I was just about to say, George, Luke, just let George pass. Don't take any risks now. You can't take the risks at this point in the championship. You are literally 1 lap away from being a 3-time champion with AOR. You can't take risks like this. And he's going toe-to-toe in the mid to bottom pack this afternoon. I mean, balls are still at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Oh, he's going to try and make a move, possibly? No, he's not. I thought he was going to try and go through. Worst thing that could happen right now is that he has an incident. And I'm amazed he's actually pushing for it up the inside now. So the outside, I thought we were going to watch the chicane. I'm a few turns ahead. But now that's left Boothby with a chance to go on the attack. Whether or not Boothby is just toying with the back. Oh, just while this has all been going on, Caracas has come across the line to win the final race of the season. We're going to stick back with this because realistically, this needs to be the case of how it's going to happen in the championship. It depends on whether or not Luke Whitehead even finishes this race. And at the moment, he is not making it easy. As he's running in 13th place, he could almost afford to give the position to Boothby if he wanted. And is Boothby going to try and throw something down the inside as they come into this final couple of corners again? I don't think so. Oh, a little battle going on in front of these guys as well. That was Stachecki and DeCampo. Yeah, DeCampo going through, and what the time to do it on the final lap. I think it was a bit of a flash there. There we go. Fantastic finish all the way, and there we go. I think that all but confirms it, that our championship winner is Luke Whitehead. He does manage to do it. I mean, sort of barring any post-race penalties that are going to come along, but it's going to have to be pretty a big slide. I think he knows. I think he knows that was what he needed to do. So we will jump on board with our championship leader, Luke Whitehead. A quick look at that car as he now sits there in the gravel. I think Boothby gave him a bit of a love tap as they came in. So still a few cars out there finishing. IT check. Still coming across the line now. That's 16th place. And then Mikowski running in 17th, still to finish. Although, on a slowdown.
Yeah, no, I think we're all done. I'm not too sure what's going on with the timing screen. Whether Mikowski knows, I'm not too sure. Walsingham apparently is still on a lap. I don't understand. But, I mean, fantastic finish to the championship. We had a little bit of a scarers at the end there. We didn't think it would happen, but Luke Whitehead, getting a drive-through penalty and putting himself on the place where he could possibly lose the championship, and he managed to hold on. Just goes to show there was frantic shouting to his chat whether he can do it, where he needed to be. And it just so happened that Valentin Barrier lost a few places and wasn't able to capitalise on the open goal that was given to him, unfortunately. And it, just shows the perseverance and the fantastic driving that we've seen from Luke Whitehead all season long. Finishes P13 on the final round and still manages to win the championship by a couple of points.
It's pretty rare that you can say that, I think, and it just goes to show the absolutely blistering pace that man has in the car. So, right, just have a quick look on screen as they cross the line. So, Caracas on pole, Hall in second, Barrier in third, Fisher fourth, Riley fifth, Hacker sixth, Fox seventh, Tuddy eighth, Ciata 9th, DeCampo 10th, Stachecki 11th, Noworth in 12th, Whitehead in 13th, Boothby 14th, Dimitrov 15th, Achichek 16th, Bukowski 17th, 18th was Walshingham, and rounding out the grid in 19th place is Seminara. So I do see some people waiting to come in and join us in the interview room. I'm just going to jump to a slightly more nice looking screen and then we will drag them in. So just one moment.
Well, I guess we have to have a little chat with 1, 2, 3. I guess I know we have spoken to Grantus once or twice before. Valley, we've also had a conversation with. I don't think we've ever spoken to Hall, but hey, let's see if they want to have a little chat this afternoon. Obviously, we've got the Ripper waiting, the current champion. It's just whether we speak to him first. I don't know at this stage. Anyone else waiting there, or
I don't see anyone else waiting, so we will get Luke in, our championship winner. He may not have crossed the line first this evening, but he has dominated the championship the whole way through. Good evening, Luke. Welcome to the booth. And again, I believe this is your third time as Tier 1 champion, and a massive round of applause goes to you. How are you feeling? Oh, hello, Luke.
Hello. Sorry, I forgot to push the talk on. The usual. Well, as you can tell, I'm stressed. Stressed. That was probably one of the races of all time, I think. Where do I even start? Literally everything that could have gone wrong that race went wrong. So that was fun. That was very good fun. But, you know, we luckily got there in the end. I think we ended up 13th. So that was, well, 14th was the threshold no matter what happened. No matter where Valor finished, we'd have won the championship and finished 14th, and we finished 13th. So yeah, quite fortunate, honestly, very fortunate. But yeah, it was one of those races, I guess, where everything went completely wrong.
Yeah, we saw that drive-through penalty come through, and you were very much keeping Rage busy with the calculator, trying to work out mathematically if you were still winning or not. But the drive-through came through, and we nearly fell silent in the booth for a moment. There was a bit of a oh came from Rage, and then suddenly we just both sat there and stared at the DT next to your name. We were like, surely not. Surely he hasn't thrown it away.
It was so weird because I'd got my warnings in the chicane, and I got the drive-through at Aqua, and I think must have been like by like a pixel because I didn't see that I drove the line any differently. So, but yeah, and then when I pitted, it got even worse because I pitted and the pressures for whatever reason were 1.5 psi too high, and that was losing us probably, I'd say probably 6-7 tenths a lap, I think. I mean, we could have been in the 39.8s, 39.9s, and we were doing 40.5s when we should have been way quicker. So it was, yeah, everything went wrong. But I'm just lucky that it wasn't the end of the championship. It was, it went our way in the end. But GG's to Valor for putting up a valiant fight, and GG's to Grantus for just being insane. Like, that kid's mental. He's so quick. So I think the McLaren definitely had the edge on us today anyway, but Grantus just maximized it. So GG's to him.
Yeah, Caracas, one of those drivers that really sort of just came out of absolutely nowhere. Hasn't really been with us many races this season as well, but is an absolutely blisteringly fast driver. I mean, obviously, always good to have sort of peers at a similar pace around you. Rage, you are hiding here in the booth as well. Have you got any words for Luke?
That's it. Well, first of all, Luke, well done. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I knew you could do it. I even came into the chat and said, come on, keep your head. You can do this. You can still do this.
Yeah, I saw.
I mean, there was a point there that I thought, oh my God, he might have possibly thrown it away. But yeah, I mean, you did a good job at the beginning part of the season to keep the championship hope alive, it seems. But yeah, fantastic. There were some good drives all around the grid. Looks like some boys were really putting on some good performances. What a performance from your old teammate, Grantus. That fantastic drive. But yeah, I mean, can't take away from the fantastic drive you've had all season. But, was there at any point that you thought, shit?
Yes. Yes, many this race. I mean, obviously nearly getting spun out at the start was one of them. Then obviously having that really big moment at Aqua where we nearly died. That was another one. When we pitted and came out on pressures 1.5 psi too high, that was another one. And then when Valor gained a place, got up to second, that was another one, because then I thought if Grantus gets the drive through, then that's Valor winning the race and then us potentially losing the championship. But I mean, I knew that in the position that he was in, I think he was in second. I knew that I think 19th was the threshold if you finish second. Mm-hmm. So I knew that even with the drive-through, I came out 18th. So I knew I'd have that. But obviously, you never know what anyone else is going to do. And obviously, I nearly got my wrist broken as well when I overtook Seminara. He sort of rear-ended me into Aqua, and I nearly broke my wrists in half, which was, again, another one of those moments. But
interesting.
Yes, yeah, interesting is definitely a word. But yeah, I mean,
I don't want to go out on a limb here, Luke, but I've, as far as I've been here, we've not had a 3-time. So I think you have just got into a little sphere of performance that we haven't quite seen at AOR. I don't think we've got any 3-time champions yet.
Yeah,
so you've
I know George is a 2-time, and I think he was the most before. So definitely a privilege as well. Two in the bounce as well, which is also nice. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate really that this season hasn't been particularly clean, at least compared to last season. I mean, last season I was every race, I think. Well, I won like 5 on the bounce in last season. This season's been a little bit less, a bit more rough-edged, especially this race, which kind of quite funny that this race at Imola, just like my first championship win, was terrible. Got to drive through in that race and got binned in that race as well, and won by very few points. I believe that was also to Valor, who finished second. So it's quite funny how that ties up, I guess, just like the first season I did. So. Well, it is what it is. It was very entertaining nonetheless. I think my Twitch chat enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And yeah, excited.
Made it lively.
Yeah,
that's it lively,
sure.
Mate.
I mean, I'd have rather had an easier race. I was a little bit stressed, but I mean, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to have another season soon. Because I mean, I love doing AOR, so it would be nice to make it 4. Would be nice.
Oh, he's already trying for the next one.
There's a lot of quick guys, so I know it's going to get harder and harder every season. So,
how many sets of socks have you been sent since? Have you got the 2 sets?
Got 2, yeah. I've got 2. Got another one. Yeah. I mean, they should just send me a batch at this point. Yeah. I
Do you
shouldn't
use
say-
them or
I used them for a couple of rounds this season. Yeah, unfortunately not this
Oh, yeah.
round, but I've used them a couple of times. They're very comfy. And I would
I always
recommend
find
people,
with a
especially
long
people
throw.
who don't, especially people who don't use boots. I mean, I use boots, so they're not as much use. But for people who don't wear boots, I'd recommend them.
Yeah.
And even to be honest, even to wear around the house, they're comfy. So
They are comfy. They are comfy.
I'd recommend.
They've got lovely, lovely bits that support you on the arch. Anyway, enough of our sponsors. Luke, congrats on the 3-time. Never
Thank you
been
very
done
much.
before in AOR. I know there's no monetary win with AOR. It's a community-driven thing. So thank you for keeping it going and keeping everyone honest this whole season. Tim as well, thanks for being there and thanks for leading stuff today. I really do appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been a fantastic season. So yeah, well done, Luke. 3-time
Thank you very
champion. Never had it before. Enjoy it and best of luck with all the other endeavours for the rest of the season for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoy your much earned break. It's been awesome to hear you guys commentating again. So hopefully I hear your beautiful voices soon. Take care.
No worries. Take
Cheers,
care.
Luke.
Bye bye.
Enjoy. Well, there you go. Fantastic.
It's all
I'll
done
just
for
mirror
tier
what-
one. It's
I
all
know
done.
it's done again. It's done again. I'll just mirror what I said there. Thanks very much for helping out this season, buddy. And I hope you enjoyed leading today. It's always a good way to help out. So hopefully we get the internet sorted out for next time. But maybe we should do this more often. I do one, you do one. I think it would be good fun.
I do. I say I'm very much enjoying having a little go in the tier one booth. It's been very nice and some different drivers. It's quite the pleasure. I mean, let's just have a quick wrap up of that race. It was
Sure.
all over the place, wasn't it? I mean, it was absolutely fantastic pace. Of the racing we saw out there, not just from our leaders, but actually from people further down the grid as well, all inside the top 10, even all the way down to 13th, 14th place. Really kept us on our toes the entire way through the race. So, yeah, huge shout out to the tier one drivers for doing such an amazing effort. It's the summer seasons are always a little bit different. In some places, people are just too hot to even consider sitting in front of their computers of an evening. I mean, even in the UK, it's pretty warm at the moment. So yeah, no,
It is.
a big shout out to all the drivers all around the world who have joined us, and it really is a bit of a sort of a worldwide event, isn't it? I mean, looking down through here, there's drivers from absolutely everywhere that was here, and that's just in tier one as well. So all throughout of it, massive support from everybody all across the world.
I did forget to say something, Tim. Forgot to ask Luke Whitehead. I'm sure everyone listening knows where to find him. But if you do want to find Luke Whitehead, you can find him on Twitch. He predominantly streams there now under Luke Whitehead _. If you want to catch him on there, do give him a follow. He's trying to grow his community, and obviously 3-time champion AOR. Definitely the place to watch if you want to learn some stuff. I know he does tutoring as well, so just drop him a DM if you fancy that. You can also find him at LukeW_racing if you want to find him on Twitter for all of his bits and pieces. Takes part in lots of different leagues throughout the esports sphere. So if you fancy cheering on a young, promising British esports driver, then of course you can. You can watch him there as well. So yeah, I mean, just to summarise, what a fucking race. Comrade Seattle was fantastic, wasn't it? Coming from the back all the way through into the top 10.
Yeah, mega drive. I would say, I think actually probably driver of the day probably goes to Seattle. It was kind of that thing. He had no reason to stick with it and finish the race. He could have quite easily just called it a day after an incident that early in the race. He had no real, there was nothing really to gain championship wise. He was in 9th in the championship coming into this round. No one really would have batted an eyelid or been, sort of judged him for coming away. But no, he stuck with it. So I think actually Seattle is going to get my drive of the day. I think it was an amazing recovery drive and cleanly done as well. Every time we cut to him, it was always a clean overtake. There was no moment where we looked at it and thought, oh, that's a bit questionable. And he just, after that opening lap incident, he sort of, kept his nose clean, his powder dry, and just kept pushing forward. So yeah, obviously, overall goes to Luke Whitehead. But yeah, a great drive from everyone this evening. So I think that's probably us done for the evening.
It is.
And that's us done for tier 1 as well this season. That's the end of season 13. If you want more of this racing, come along in the same place, same time tomorrow. It is tier 2. It will be me in the booth for that one. So come and join me for that one as well. Pretty much equally fast drivers. They just missed out on their opportunity to go up there. And we've seen some fairly big rising stars. And anyone that wins the championship for tier 2 would quite likely be in the tier 1 grid next time round. So maybe you could jump on board with someone that's going to be a rising star and immediately cheer them on in tier 1 next time round. So yeah, from me and Rage, I'm going to say good night, and we'll see you all very soon.
Indeed. I'll just quickly say, Tim, where can people find you if they want to find out anything else you're doing?
I am on Twitter now. I finally got myself a Twitter. It is so I suppose _Tim360Lunn, same as it is in the bio and everything. And actually, yeah, both our links to Twitters are available in the bios. I've only just started it, so I've basically got 0 followers at the moment. So if you want to come and give me a follow, that would be amazing. I usually post of what we're up to, but yeah, and sort of from time to time, the odd little bit of sort of real life racing as well. Post the odd little bit in there of what I'm interested in. So yeah, and yourself, I believe you are on Twitter as well, aren't you, Rage?
On the Twitters mainly, yeah. I used to do a little bit extra bits and pieces, but not so much anymore. So yeah, Twitter's the main place to find us. So if you want to follow on to see where we'll be shouting about next, you can find it there. A quick shout out to the guys, the powers that be as well. So thanks for a fantastic season to all the coordinators in AOR. They know who they are. I won't list them all. So yeah, hopefully you can see us towards the autumn time for another round, season 14 with AOR. And yeah, a little bit more racing tomorrow. Join Tim at 7:30 if you like. Tim, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
This Noah's Ark 2x2 formation. Red change now. We go racing for the first time this season. 3 hours of GT action. It's go.
It's very tight as they come down. Group of cars coming in. This has all got trouble written all over it. There's a G3 car.
Drop downhill there, head towards the Aqua Minerale. Imola, of course. There's another one off through the gravel. As wide as possible as they drop downhill, put it back from the inside line. Yes, he did. Through he goes.